Good morning. This is Joel. This is the Faith Filter, and we are talking of wars and rumors of wars once more. I'm going to wait till everybody gets here in the comments, and then I'm going to talk about the Iran war, what's going on from one aspect of it. As usual, Ben, I got to coordinate what I talk about on my podcast with what Ben and I want to talk about on Friday, just because I don't want to be repetitive and talk about the same thing. So, but Ben and I are going to do a deep dive into what's happening in Iran now, or in and around Iran, and talk about that in a big picture. I wanted to focus on one particular aspect of what's going on, and that is the mutual celebration. The celebration of Iranian expatriates and Iranian citizens, and also specifically who they're celebrating with, which is a great thing. And AC's here. Good morning, AC. Lucas, how you guys doing? Feel free to, like I said, feel free to chime in, guys, your thoughts on this. But I did want to start off, and I'll just show you this little video to kind of set the mood here on how we're going to be doing.
All the things were gone I'd worked for all my life, and I had to start again with just my children and my wife. I thank my lucky stars to be living here today, 'cause the flag still stands for freedom, and they can't take that away.
All right, just a little thing there appropriating Lee Greenwood's proud to be an American, but hey, it's for Iranians too. So these people, hopefully that applies to them too, proud to be an Iranian, because at least I know I'm free, right? GM anointed again. Anointed. Oh, I'm sorry, I missed. Good morning. Anointed overflows. I'm sorry, I missed that. Welcome. So the thing I wanted to point out in that video, and there was a lot of Iranian flags, there was a few American flags, and there were some Israeli flags. Israelis and Iranians are celebrating together this attack. And I think that's a sub-story that's just a huge story, and it gives the lie to all the Israel haters out there who think that Israel just goes and starts wars for no reason, or because there's some kind of a warlike state or illegal state or illegitimate. The Iranian people know better. And this goes back to what I was talking about a few weeks back, or actually a few months back. Benjamin Netanyahu, before, I think it was even before the Hammer, whatever the Hammer operation was, where the U.S. and Israel hit Iran's nuclear capabilities back in June. I think even before that, well before that, Benjamin Netanyahu got on TV that was broadcast into Iran and appealed to the Iranian people. And he said, "You are the great Persian people. We are the great Jewish people. You are the great Persian people." And he was encouraging them, get rid of your government, overthrow these Islamic thugs that have taken over your country for the last 47 years. You deserve better. It's up to you to do that. And of course, as we know, about 3 or 4 months ago, that happened, maybe in December, I guess it was a couple months ago, that the Iranian people started rising up. And there was this revolution going on inside Iran, and we talked about it here. If you remember, I showed the picture of the Iranian women throwing off their burqas with having beautiful dresses underneath, and they were happy. Their heads were uncovered, their bodies were uncovered, and they were showing the world, if anybody thinks that specifically Iranian women are happy to be wearing these burqas, these garbage bags, these coverings that cover their entire being that take away their human identity, you're wrong. This is, at least Iranian women don't. And like I said at the time, Muslim women don't either. If you got them alone, away from the oppressors around them, I think the vast majority of Muslim women would say, we hate these bags we have to wear. They're dehumanizing. We can't smile at each other. My husband can't see my face. I can't show him who I am. And that was, to me, as I said at the time, the symbol of this revolution, the symbol of freedom for the early, or say for the 2020s. Back in the day, we had Churchill, with the V sign, or the man back in the 80s, the man standing in front of the tanks in Tiananmen Square. I said, those are symbols of resistance. To me, the symbol of resistance is, women in Muslim countries throwing off their coverings and being free to show themselves to the world, to see you, to see me, to see each other. So, let's see. You see, I've seen so many of these on Instagram, and it's so amazing to watch. Cracks me up how they do the Trump dance and then do the golf swing at the end. I haven't seen that. I'll have to look for that. That would be cool. Is it true that Iranians are having dreams and visits from Jesus? I haven't, I don't know, but I know that for several years, I used to work with a missionary to Muslims. He's an Egyptian, former Muslim that has a ministry to Muslims. And he is always telling me, and the people around him are always telling me, that in the Muslim world, Jesus is making himself known. And people in the Muslim world are having some kinds of revelations of Jesus. And there is that movement. And I know that there has been a movement in Iran, a Christian movement growing. And it's not hard to see why. Okay. Even what the regime did during the protests, or after, conservative estimates have the number of their own citizens killed at 35,000 in 2 months? That's what these thugs, they are just thugs. That's what they're doing to their own people. So, I don't know. So you've heard of that. I hope so. From your lips to God's ears, may it be true. And pray that right now, Jesus, show yourself to the Iranian people, because they have suffered like this for 47 years. Like I said, this goes back to my days in college, and this is something that is a very sensitive subject to me. It's something I very much relate to, because when I was a young man, this was the big story. And there was no bigger story in American history than when Iran took our hostages at our embassy in their revolution and held them for over 444 days, I think it was. 56 maybe hostages. And the weak Jimmy Carter bungled the operation to get them out, and bungled the whole thing. They returned the hostages when Ronald Reagan came into office, but to be honest, Reagan didn't stop this. This should have been stopped, because don't forget, this is, like Trump said, and I appreciate him saying this, he is finishing this war. This war started 47 years ago. Iran had declared war on us in 1979, and they've never ceased hostilities. And every president since Jimmy Carter has had a chance to do something like this, but they didn't, because people don't like this. I don't like this. My wife doesn't like this. Nobody likes this. Okay. People around. I'm in California. Everybody hates this, because war is a horrible thing, and Trump is the one doing it. Excuse me. I didn't hear a lot of complaining when Obama was bombing Syria nonstop and droning people. And you didn't hear a lot of complaining about that in California, but you also didn't see a lot of it on the news. And it wasn't a cut and dry situation like this is. But here we have it. Okay. It's going on. everything else we've tried for 47 years has not worked. It's not going to work. Every time we tried diplomacy or economic sanctions, they didn't work. And then, for reasons only known to Barack Obama, he released all the cash and gave it back to the Iranian government that we had frozen, from 1979. Plane loads of cash to Iran. For what reason, I still don't know, and I think I know, but I don't want to go there, because the only reason you would give someone who is declared war against us, who is at war against us, continues hostilities towards us, the only reason you would give them billions and billions of dollars is that you would like them to continue. And maybe, it wasn't just us that they were at war at. Obviously, they've been very involved with Hamas and Hezbollah attacking Israel. And maybe that was the reason they were given the cash. I don't know. That's the only thing I can think. That's the only conclusion I can give. So for anybody that doesn't like this, what's going on? It's like I tell everyone that doesn't like the ICE operations. If you don't like what ICE is doing, don't blame Trump or don't blame ICE. Blame the people who let 12 million illegal aliens into our country in 4 years. What did you think that was going to turn out well? For anybody that doesn't like this war, okay, blame the people who gave them billions of dollars of cash to continue their sponsorship of terror and to continue their war and hostility against us. What good is economic sanctions if we keep giving them their money back, right? So, but what you see and what you saw on that short little video is what really is at the heart of this story. Iranians and and Jewish people and Americans celebrating together, and they're doing it all over the world. All heard Jack Hibbs saying, putting a prophetic spin on it, that this is Elam, I think, or Edom within Persia there's a prophecy in Daniel about them being spread to the four corners of the world, and God will bring them back. Maybe that's what's happening, because there's Iranians, I saw in Australia, Germany, all these other people, they're in the streets celebrating with Jewish people also, who are celebrating Israel's victory here. And there's no hostility. There's no fighting. There's no beating the Jewish people there. There's no threatening, no kicking them out, saying you have no place here, because the great Jewish people and the great Persian people have a lot in common. Okay. The great Cyrus the Great, right, who let Israel go back to the land when they are in captivity. That seal, he's the seal of the relationship between the Persian people and the Jewish people. And that's why I think there's no animosity there, because they have that connection. So, and it's no wonder that when the Islamic thugs took over Persia, they oppressed the Persian people, because they are friends of Israel. They are the friends of Israel. So, so that's my brief take on it. I just wanted to highlight that this is something that, all the other Gulf states are cooperating with us. The Kurds now are invading Iran from Kurdistan, from within Iraq. That's something that happened yesterday, I think. So more and more people are getting on board with this, of getting this regime out of Iran and doing away with them, honestly. Celebrating the death of all these Iranian leaders, which is really, the only option they've left us. We tried to do it peacefully. We tried to do it economically. Not going to work. We have to do it militarily. And it's terrible. It's a terrible thing. But again, this is what it's come to. So reminds me of the book of Esther. Yeah. Yeah. So exactly. So that's my take on that. Like I said, Ben and I will be talking about tomorrow. And you have to excuse me 1 second here. I am coming off a bout of strep throat that I got in Hawaii, of all places. So maybe you're not feeling sorry for me. And another thing that's happened, Danny, the guy that puts all these episodes online for me, I was meeting with him the other day, and he pointed out the actor Shia LaBeouf, who I have seen in a couple of different movies. I know he was in the Indiana Jones, the Crystal Skull, Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, whatever it was, where he was supposed to be the new Indiana Jones, but that movie was so bad that it kind of killed thoughts of that. And then I saw him in a movie called The Peanut Butter Falcon, and it was one of the best acting jobs I've ever seen. His character in that movie, a Down syndrome person was in an institution, and he wanted to get out and go to a professional wrestling school because he had this VCR of that 10-year-old VCR of this guy who had this professional wrestling school, and then you go to, and so he escapes and he hooks up with Shia LaBeouf's character, and they walk across the South and eventually get to this school that had been closed, but the guy reopens it. And long story short, the Down syndrome guy, who did a fantastic job, gets to be a professional wrestler, and it goes from there. And he's called the Peanut Butter Falcon. So after that movie, I said, I got to check out more of Shia LaBeouf's acting, but I haven't. I know he was in Transformers, and I know he was in some other things, but he did an interview with this guy, Channel 5, who's apparently I don't remember his name, but that's the station or the channel that he has, Channel 5. And he did this interview, and Shia LaBeouf was arrested in New Orleans during Mardi Gras. And apparently what happened was there were some gay men, some large gay men, who were groping him in some way. But yeah, it's Mardi Gras, right? So everybody's kind of on the hormonal, fast train, right? And he didn't like that, and he started swinging, and he started cussing and calling people homophobic slurs and all like that, and he got arrested, and he's in trouble. So he did this interview, and in this interview, it's gone viral. Shia LaBeouf is a troubled man, but in it, I'll just play it. The part where I stopped, or the part with maybe the least F-bombs in them. And like I said, if you're sensitive about that stuff, maybe don't listen. But this is kind of what this interview was all about. It was kind of an hour and a half long, 2 hour long, kind of emotional rant, really, from a very troubled young man, but who also claims that he's a Catholic, and he's had this relationship with Jesus. And I just wanted to play part of it for you.
Time ago.
Bro, you can do whatever you want with the text. It's not my business. You know what I mean? I'm a traditional Catholic. That's okay.
And what's the difference between a traditional Catholic and, let's say, a more progressive Christian?
I really fuck with the Bible.
You believe in hell and stuff?
Yeah.
Who do you think's down there?
Who's down there? Martin Luther.
The man who wrote the Protestant
Martin
Reformation.
Luther's there. Yeah, he
had
gone.
the special haircut.
He's gone. That fool's gone.
For denying the divinity of the Pope.
There's a whole lot. We could talk about this. This will be the whole rest of the interview. I don't want to do that either. I'm not Mel Gibson. I'm not trying to be out here doing that either. God bless you. I love you too. I'm not that guy either. I'm not angry with my Christianity like that. I just really believe in what I believe in. I'm not trying to proselytize nobody. I'm not trying to hold no traditional Catholic line. I'm not some fucking weirdo like that, tight ass fucking. No, none of that, bro. I'm on my relationship. I'm in a full-blown love affair with Jesus. And I believe what I believe.
One thing you did mention.
Sorry, I often do that. Mute my mic. Okay, so that had the least F-bombs in it. Believe it or not. So it's pretty much mostly that. So, and I have a lot of different thoughts on this. First of all, he's obviously a really troubled man. He was a child star, and that explains a lot. This is yet another product of Hollywood. Someone who grew up in Hollywood as a young star. I don't, who knows what's been done to him? Who knows what experience he's had within Hollywood to get him like that? He doesn't go into that. He doesn't claim that he was, that he was victim of pedophiles or anything like that. But fame at an early age, when you have that, and you never get grounded in much of anything. He talks about his dad was a Mongol, I think, 1% biker gang guy. His mom was into other stuff. So his dad was in and out of prison. So he's had it rough. And he's been pretty much an out of control guy most of his life. And he's kind of known for that. As I said, he's a brilliant actor. He's an artist, right? He's a very artistic guy. He's a brilliant man. He talks about all the books. He's different. He references a lot of different things. I think he referenced Heart of Darkness, one that he's read. So he's very philosophical, very bright guy, but very troubled and obviously struggling with a lot of things. He's been in and out of rehab. His wife divorced him. He has a kid. In and out of rehab, and yet he's drinking a beer. He drank more than one beer. He actually got up and went to the refrigerator during the interview, and they filmed him. And the interview kept going while he was getting another beer. So this is what this guy is dealing with. But this is 2 points I want to make about it. One, this is a couple of 1A and 1B. He is a famous guy who is claiming to have had a Christian experience. And we need to let him work it through. And this is not a typical famous person who's had a Christian experience, who's obviously turned their life around. So I don't think the temptation will be to put Shia LaBeouf at the front of anything. I don't think the temptation will have him be to speak at conferences or speak at churches or do videos proclaiming anything. This is what happens when famous people become Christians on the evangelical side. You immediately put them out front, give them a lot of attention, and they don't have a chance to ground, and they end up backsliding and tanking in their Christian faith because they never had time to be discipled and to grow before people started demanding things of them. So I don't think that'll happen. I don't know if that happens in the Catholic Church. 1B on this would be he is, like I said, obviously very sincere in this. He's very troubled. He hasn't worked it through. But this is why we don't have artistic people in leadership in Christianity. This is why theological people with the gifts of knowledge, the gifts of teaching, are supposed to be the leaders. And one of the big mistakes we've made in church because of the praise and worship movement is we've pushed a lot of artistic people into leadership, and we've been following artistic people. And artistic people are gifted to help us praise, to help us worship, to lift our spirits. They are not to define theology and to lead and to teach. Okay, because there's just too much trouble going on. And I don't think that'll happen. He's gone Catholic. If this were in an evangelical context, I'd be more worried about that. Another thing I see him doing is, and the verse I came up with for this was in 2 Corinthians. This is the verse that I saw, because what I see Shia LaBeouf doing here is he's saying, I'm a Christian, I do this, I do that, and I got my own thing, and I'm not supposed to worry about anybody else. And this is what I do. I F with Jesus, which is, whatever. And the verse I came up with the only context I could think to put it in was in 2 Corinthians. Paul is talking about his authority as an apostle, and the people that are criticizing him. But he comes up with this verse right here that, as Shia LaBeouf was saying this is what struck my mind. He says in verse 12, "For we are not bold to class or compare ourselves with some of those who commend themselves. When they measure themselves by themselves and compare themselves with themselves, they are without understanding." So it seems to me that that's what Shia LaBeouf is doing here. His Christianity is something that's all about him. And again, with artists and people like this, people who are entertainers, it is all about them. They live their life to be noticed. I once dated an actress, and she told me, she says, "Just so you know, very early on, it's all about me." Okay. She goes, I'm a performer. I need attention. I need validation. Right. So, anointed. Let's pray for him. Yeah. God, I do pray for Shia LaBeouf. I pray that you show him, get him out of himself and show him you, show him the real you. But in the second thing, I want to say about this has gone viral for a reason. This is a youngish man who is struggling with his demons, and he's trying to put it all in a Judeo-Christian context. He's done everything. He's had probably every experience you want to know. I mean, he's had the drugs, he's had the women, he's tried whatever else, fame, and he's struggling. And if you look at it, I encourage you guys to at least watch part of this. There is a part of it where the interviewer asked him, he said, "What would you say to Jesus right now?" And he just put his head down and started crying. He said, "I wouldn't say S, man. I wouldn't effing say S. I would just kiss his feet. I would just kiss his feet." So with everything else, he was, hey, I think this, and my Christianity is this, and I'm not this kind of Christian. I'm not going to, what would you say to Jesus? Oh, God. So he has that sense of his own wretchedness. And I think that's what a lot of young men are struggling with now. They've got this sense that there's got to be something more. They've got this sense of, my standing with God is not right. Where do I go? But yet, what do churches have to offer them? We have to offer them mostly just a show, kind of a empty performative show that we call worship, but there's not a lot of raw truth in there, dealing with raw emotion, raw reality. If Shia LaBeouf came into your church, I think he tried to go to a couple of churches this week and they wouldn't let him in because they saw this and they said, we can't have you in a church like this. You'll bum our worship high. You'll offend our sensibilities, our Christianese sensibilities. But I guarantee you, there's a lot of young men watching this. Even though this very troubled man, he's got some deep psychological and addiction problems, emotional problems, but he's trying to get to the truth. He's struggling. You can see he's struggling with all the things that society has thrown at him in his life. And he's trying to put it in a cultural context. I don't think he'll get much help. This is why I struggle with the Catholic Church. He can go to a Catholic church and, if you just do the right rituals, no one will really dig too deep, to see how is that addiction problem going with you. I see you drinking a couple beers. Are you getting on top of this alcohol thing? You're obviously not. Let's get that taken care of. Either that, or they'll do maybe what they did and say, "Hey, we don't want your problems in here. We can't deal with that. That's not what we're all about. We're not about dealing with the struggles of a young man who's desperately seeking truth. That will cause trouble in here. That'll, like I said, that'll bum our comfortable, show we have going on here. So it's very interesting. It's, like I said, it's gone viral. A lot of people are paying attention to this because how raw and real it is. There's not a lot of truth to find in it because he's way off base in a lot of different things. Like I said, he's measuring himself by himself, and he's without knowledge of God. But it's very instructive for anybody in ministry, any church leaders. Watch this video, see a younger man in today's reality in America today, struggling to find truth. And what answers do we have for this kind of man? Because they're out there. And a lot of them have come to our churches after Charlie Kirk's death, and they're looking for something because they saw that Charlie had something. Shia LaBeouf knows that there's something out there. He knows there's something in Christ, in the Bible, and he's struggling mightily with it. Is anybody going to come beside him and help him? And is there any room in the Christian church for this kind of thing? So that I'm out of time. I'm over time. Wish I had more time on that. I probably should have done the whole 2 whole separate shows on this, but that's what I did. So I will be on with Ben tomorrow, like I said, and we will be talking about more about the Iran war. So I will see you guys then. Thanks for listening. Thanks for the comments too.